Bentornati a Come States, la rubrica atlantica del Tempo Quotidiano. Io sono Eleonora Tomassi e oggi ho l'onore di avere qui con me uno scienziato, un medico, uno scrittore molto famoso negli Stati Uniti d'America. Lui, pensate, è il braccio destro dell'attuale ministro della Salute Robert Kennedy Jr. È in collegamento qui a Roma su invito della Carta di Siena per un convegno organizzato al Senato. Lui è Robert Malone. Mr. Malone, grazie di essere qui, benvenuto. Vado diretta alla prima domanda. Lei è tra le cose inventore dei vaccini mRNA e DNA. Relativamente a questi ultimi vaccini Covid, di cui lei è stato molto critico, ci spiega l'effetto dell'mRNA sul corpo umano?
What we have with these vaccines is not just mRNA, but it's mRNA with producing a particular protein that's toxic, the spike, and it's wrapped or formulated with a lipid nanoparticle. The RNA is not natural RNA, it's a highly modified molecule that's RNA-like, but contains a large amount of synthetic pseudouridine. Each of those components contributes to the effects and contributes also to the toxicity. In addition, we now know that these preparations are contaminated or adulterated with a significant amount of DNA fragments. And so they're not just delivering this modified mRNA-like molecule, but they're also delivering small fragments of DNA. So we now know quite a bit about the nature and structure of these particles, where they go in the body, how long they last, how long the modified mRNA lasts, and what the effects are.
Grazie Mr. Malone. Cosa sta cambiando, cosa è cambiato con Kennedy come ministro della salute negli Stati Uniti?
My friend, Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is now running the largest branch of the United States government called the Department of Health and Human Services. It's even larger than the Department of War. He has brought a new focus and emphasis on moving from a medical system based on treating disease to one that's focused on promoting health. In particular, Secretary Kennedy and President Trump share a very strong commitment to the health of children and the children of the United States. As President Trump has repeatedly said, the current data show that the children of the United States will live shorter, sicker lives than their parents. Something must be done. And so what's happened is that a all-of-government program called the Make America Healthy Again Commission has been established to identify what the causes are of the poor health and sickness in our children, and then to come up with a plan for how to improve that, how to make our children healthier. That plan is now in place, and with that, Secretary Kennedy is implementing broad-based reform all across the entire health and human services sector.
Il problema dell'autismo è emerso nella conferenza Trump-Kennedy, in Italia non ne ha parlato nessuno. Ci spiega se è veramente correlato con le vaccinazioni pediatriche?
The recent press conference that was held involving President Trump and Secretary Kennedy, where they spoke about vaccines in particular, included a number of important comments and recommendations directly from the president. The president wants the entire childhood vaccine schedule revisited and analyzed for its safety, not just as individual vaccine components, but all of these separate vaccines administered together. Are they actually safe? How do they interact? The president also made it clear that he has a very long-standing, over 20-year-long commitment to getting to the bottom of the cause of the autism epidemic in the United States, and I think across much of the Western world. And in particular, what was disclosed was not that the data analysis is showing that there is a correlation between autism and vaccines. That may or may not be the case. But as they looked at the big data associated with health and autism and risk exposure. What did come up repeatedly were data suggesting that there was some association with taking what we call Tylenol, or you call paracetamol, otherwise known by the chemical name, the pharmaceutical name, acetaminophen. There does appear to be a correlation between accepting acetaminophen during the last trimester in pregnancy by the mother and dosing with acetaminophen or paracetamol in the early years and early months of the child's life after birth. Of course, paracetamol or acetaminophen is used to treat fever, and we need to remember that one of the most common adverse events associated with vaccination is fever. So what the Secretary and the President are recommending is that mothers be cautious and don't take acetaminophen or paracetamol unless they really need to. If the child has a mild fever, then perhaps that's not necessary to take that drug. If the child has a very serious fever, the focus should be on understanding why that child is having that fever. But if it's necessary to treat it, paracetamol or acetaminophen may be among the safest of drugs available, but it's still not completely safe.
Grazie ancora Mr. Malone. Ultima domanda, prima di salutarla voglio chiederle che consiglio darebbe oggi al nostro Ministro della Salute Schillaci e al governo Meloni.
I respect the autonomy and sovereignty of Italy and the government that Giorgia Meloni has formed. It's very clear that the position of the United States government and the State Department going forward will be not to tell other nation states how they should manage their own health, but rather to offer with an open hand partnership with other nation states in helping them solve their own health problems, particularly as it relates to infectious disease and the risk of infectious disease. I'm personally, not speaking on behalf of my government, I'm personally very grateful that Giorgia Meloni and the coalition government that she manages has chosen to not endorse the international health regulations and the World Health Organization pandemic treaty. I think that these documents are not in the interests of any sovereign state. I think they have broad overreach. And I think that the history of WHO during the COVID outbreak demonstrates that as an organization, it doesn't have the maturity, capabilities, independence necessary to serve as a global manager of outbreak response. I think that outbreak response has traditionally been a matter of national sovereignty and of management by regional interests, whether it's the African states or Pan American Health Organization or the European Union and European Medicines Agency. I don't think we need the World Health Organization, and I think that President Trump agrees with this. The United States has made a decision to withdraw from the World Health Organization, and if Italy was to decide that that was in their interests, I'm sure that the United States would be very supportive of that.
Ringraziamo il dottor Malone, braccio destro del Ministro della Salute Robert Kennedy, e come sempre voi continuate a seguire Come States.